What if you can't discover your true will until you put down everything that isn't yours to carry? We've talked before about the ancient Egyptian image of the heart being weighed against the feather of Maat. The feather represents truth, order, balance, and justice. And that raises a beautiful question. What makes the heart heavy? Fear, resentment, guilt, the expectations of other people, the need to prove yourself, the need to control what happens. Now let's bring Aleister Crowley into the conversation. Crowley's thelema is often reduced to one sentence: do what thy wilt shall be the whole of the law. People hear that and think it means do whatever you want. But that's not really the idea of true will. True will isn't every impulse or desire that passes through your mind. It is it is discovering the deeper purpose of your existence and then living accordingly to it. And the Book of the Law says something fascinating about that will. It describes pure will as delivered from the lust of results. Think about that. Do what you are here to do without becoming enslaved to what you expect to receive from doing it. That's starting to sound familiar. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches action without attachment to the fruits of actions. Buddhist traditions warn about Buddhist tradition warns about craving and attachment. Jesus teaches, thy will be done. And the Greek words translated as will is thelema. Different traditions, different languages, different approaches, but once again, the ideas start touching each other. What happens when we carry resentment? What happens when we carry fear? What happens when our decisions are controlled by our need for approval? What happens when we become obsessed with the outcome? Those things become weight. And eventually, there's so much noise inside of us that we may no longer know the difference between what we want or what other people want from us and what we are actually here to do. Maybe discovering true will requires a subtraction, not becoming something not becoming something more, but putting something down. Release the resentment, release the fear, release the expectations, release the need to control the outcome, and then ask what remains. Maybe that's where Ma'at and Thelema touch. I'm not saying ancient Egyptians practiced Crowley's Thelema, and I'm not saying that Crowley taught the weighing of the heart. I'm asking whether they discovered different ways of approaching a similar spiritual truth. A burdened heart has difficulty hearing clearly. Perhaps the lighter the heart becomes, the clearer the will becomes. And Crowley wrote something else worth remembering. Love is the law, love under will. So perhaps true will isn't ultimately about domination. Perhaps it's about alignment, will without attachment, purpose without possession, action without obsession over the result, and a heart light enough to know the difference. So ask yourself, what are you carrying that isn't part of your true will? Because perhaps you don't need to find your purpose. Maybe your purpose has been there all along, buried underneath everything you've been carrying. Lighten the heart, quiet the noise, release the outcome, and listen. Your true will might already know the way.